Have you ever been part of a fight where everyone is right and everyone is righteous, and everyone's rightness and righteousness means they can't see that anyone else might be right and righteous too? Just me? No. The congregation I served was having such a fight. For years, they had hosted a homeless shelter, and it was important to the congregation, this work. It was important to their self-identity. Sometimes I think it was more important to their self-identity than to the actual reality of the people they were helping. But that was my less kind self, the part that thinks that I am right and righteous. It was important work. People were safe and people were warm because of a choice they had made. And it was important work that was being done poorly. It was being done in a way that made the church less safe, that made it less possible to keep our guests less safe. And some people pointed this out. And the people for whom their identity as right and righteous because of this work did not like having the problems pointed out. And it was one of those sticky kind of problems because everyone was right and everyone was righteous. And sometimes those sticky problems can actually lead to something better. And sometimes it can lead to us being so sure we're right that we have to prove the other people are wrong. And so sure we're righteous that we have to prove their ill intentions in order to be proud of our own. And so we did that for a while. And then we did it some more. And eventually we thought, maybe this is not what we came to church to do. And maybe this is not what we want to do with our one wild and precious life. And at this moment in the sermon, I would like to pause and say, if you're sitting there wondering, is something going on at church and Aija's trying to make a point? I'm happy to report that that is not the case. This is not my subtle way of telling y'all something you need to hear, okay? So, shoulders down. Everything is fine. Back to that. Eventually, everything was fine. Eventually, we did the hard work of listening to each other and making our righteous work better. Making our way of being in the world more true to our values because of the people who had looked and said, I think there's a problem here. And after all of that was done, we thought, let's not do that again. So how are we going to choose to be together so that we don't run around calling each other names and signing petitions when we disagree? There were actual petitions in the social hour. And we thought, well, we're Unitarian Universalists. What do we do when we're trying to figure out how to be together? Anyone?
Committee.
Yes. And what did that committee produce? A covenant. And the committee got together and they wrote the covenant and they presented it to the congregation, and we said we were going to act with respect, and we all said, yes, we are going to act with respect, and we are going to assume the good intentions and loving hearts of the people around us, and we said, yes, we are going to do that. We are going to live according to our values, we're going to do that, and it was wonderful. And then we got to the last line that the committee presented to the congregation. And this was the last line. The call back into covenant is the essential act of a joyful community of faith. When we fall short of our ideals, we will seek forgiveness and call one another lovingly but firmly back into community. This we liked less. People felt it was a bit of a downer at the end of the covenant. You mean we're just starting by saying we're going to fail? And the smart aleck that lives buried deep under the robes, perhaps not that deep, thought, really? You think the covenant is going to keep us from being the kind of people who hurt each other's feelings? So you think the covenant is going to keep us from being people? Why, what a powerful tool that is. We should tell other folks. But there's something deeper there. Because I think what's true is people read that sentence as the punishment. The rest was the promise. And then this is what happened when we broke the promise. And what's true is that it is not the punishment or the stick. It is the most important promise. Because we are going to mess up. It is easy to love other people until other people are involved. Wherever two or more are gathered. Yep. We're going to hurt each other's feelings. And we are going to assume good intentions. We are going to try. We're going to sit there and we're going to say, I believe you are trying. I believe you are loving. We are not going to put on our porcupine quill shirts. But there's a second part of that, which is that when someone comes and said, it didn't work this time, we're going to assume their good intentions as well. We're going to assume that that was an act of love as well. That in fact, coming to someone and saying, this hurt my feelings. These words you used made me feel less than. That is an act of love. Because that is hard. Yelling at someone on the street is not hard. And sometimes seems like a lot of fun. But coming to someone you love, someone you care about, someone you know is trying, and saying, this time, it didn't meet the mark. This time, your words or your action made me feel farther away from you, not closer. That is an act of love. Because it means you are trying to come closer together, rather than letting that little hurt sit in between you, unacknowledged, and thus ready to grow. When someone comes and says, this thing didn't work, we need to assume their good intentions as well. Because assuming good intentions only works if it's a two-way street. And not everyone is going to receive your best intentions well. I hate this caveat of, for some people, it will not work. But we still try. Because the porcupine quills hurt us no matter what. We come together and we try. We assume that people are doing their best. And when they tell us we have not succeeded in doing ours, we assume those people are doing their best as well. Because here's the thing, when I said it wasn't about us a few minutes ago, I lied.
Uh-oh.
It's not about us here in this moment. But it's about all of us, the whole world, in this moment, and in every moment. And I don't know if you have noticed, friends, but it seems like a lot of us have a little less grace in our hearts right now than usual. That the world as it is makes it hard to respond with the loving selves we want. And that the world as it is going to call for responses that put us into community with people who are going to have the opportunity to tell us we are not doing it right. And that that will have to be accepted as a gift, an opportunity to do better. We are all of us moving towards or away from freedom. Let's move closer. May it be so. Amen.